right place if you're ready to own your power. I'm Coach Simone Kelly, author, holistic business coach, and life coach with Own Your Power Communications. Our radio show and coaching programs are designed to help you live the life that you deserve. Make some noise, studio. Welcome to the show. This is author, business consultant, and life coach Joe Nunziata, who is a dear friend of mine who we've known each other. We were trying to do the math, how long it's been. I think it's definitely been.
It's a long time.
It might be 20 years at this point. Because I think
I would say
at least 18.
Maybe 17. More.
Okay, when I know how we can do the math.
20
that Learning Annex event. That's how I met you, in case you forgot. No more 9 to 5.
Oh, Learning Annex. Oh God, that was so long ago. Learning Annex, I used to do in the when did I do those? Those were like in the 90s. So early 2000s. I was still doing it. I started doing it in the 90s and was doing it in the 2000s. So it was probably around then. So it's probably 20 years, or more.
Wow. Yeah, and I haven't seen you in so long, but being on the internet, we forget sometimes. I see your videos and
I'm telling you
your posts. So
but I always follow you, so I know what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is the power of networking, right? We stay in contact, and funny enough, we both evolved similarly because we both were like hardcore business marketing. You were sales, I was more marketing coach, and now we're the woo woo.
No, we don't. We can never be woo woo, but we're New Yorkers.
Yeah, and we're New Yorkers. Yeah, you gotta love that.
So we can't be woo. We can't be too woo woo.
Yeah, not too much. You have to have a little grounded. People won't take you seriously, right? So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about your career, because you have a really interesting career. How, like I said, it evolved. I know you started off as a salesperson. So tell us a little bit about how you got started. Brooklynite, right? Italian from Brooklyn.
Italian from Brooklyn. That's it. There we go. Saturday Night Fever. The whole thing. So that whole thing. So coming from New York, how it is. Brooklyn. Grew up there. My dad was a detective in narcotics. He died when I was 12 on the job. We had financial issues. I went to work right away, right after high school. I got a job delivering beer on a truck. And that was how I started. I've been working since then. And well, even before that as a kid, but that was my first full-time job. And I was always very entrepreneurial. I decided I wanted to, own my own business and own your power, as you love to say. And I bought a soda delivery business, didn't know what I was doing, ended up going bankrupt, didn't know owed some money, got a job, bartended in New York City for a while, had a great time doing that. Eventually I thought that's what I would end up doing. I said, I'm going to end up in this industry. I loved it. It was fun. I ended up managing a few places.
Wow.
A couple opportunities didn't come through. And I know what to do. So I didn't really have a resume because I hadn't done anything other than, deliver beer and work in a bar. Mm-hmm. So somebody said, you should go into sales. You're good with people. You like talking to people and whatever. I said, yeah, okay. So I got a job selling advertising. That's where I started. So I started there and, kind of went through the corporate ranks for a while. Had another business in between, a direct marketing business, which also didn't work out, and went back into corporate. But during those time periods, because I was struggling a lot, they were kind of going up and down, I should say. I would have good, do really well and then crash, and then do really well and then crash. So that's kind of what started getting me into personal development work, which I was always interested in, even from a young age, even before that, and started learning more about then psychology, got into psychology, and actually went to therapy for a while, and then learned a lot, started taking some courses and learning how your mind works and then that led me into the energy work and the spiritual work. And I ended up, really by surprise, I think similar to yourself, ended up working with chakras and energy fields and clearing people's energy. And ultimately, because I was always in business, I blended those two things together. And that's kind of how I started to do that and say, if these are universal principles, they're energy principles, they should work everywhere. So that's kind of how that whole thing happened. But it was a long road, which continues, but it was not certainly a straight line. Certainly it's not a straight line.
Right. Now, I remember, this is taking it back now, 2007, you were one of the speakers at the Own Your Power retreat. We did and you put us in a beautiful meditation. I remember I was just like, oh, this is awesome. And that back then, I didn't really like talking too much about those things, but I would have people come that were, and then eventually I got brave enough to come out the intuitive closet and share. So speaking of that, as a child, what are some things that were key indicators that you'd be doing what you're doing now? So for instance, as a kid, I used to play on a tape recorder, make stories. Me and my dad, record stuff. I'd draw, I'd make books. So what were the things that you did?
I was very into sports, when I was young, and I did like writing stories. That was one of the few things, but I was bad in English, but I liked writing stories. So it was kind of strange. But I did always like, had a good creative kind of mind like that. I like I said, it was very, played a lot of sports, did things like that. Always was kind of a leader of a group. It just seemed like like the leader of not trying to be, but it just kind of
naturally. Yeah.
It just was kind of like I was able to do that and kind of guide people, I guess would be the best way, but not thinking of it as, yeah, I'm going to do this for work or whatever. It was just kind of like a natural skill. And I think that was probably, looking back now, not thinking of it at that time, but I think that was probably one of the indicators that I had a skill to kind of, get people's attention and lead people in a direction. So that I would say that was probably an early memory that did happen enough where it was a theme.
Right. People gravitate to you, so to speak, right? And you're easier, you're likable, you're easier to talk to. So that I get. As far as the sales, did you do anything? Because I was people that did sales. Did you ever like sell candy in school? Were you like?
I would say I really never thought about it until I got in. I mean, you're always when you look back, you're always selling, right? Because we're selling. You're trying to get a date. I always tell people, you try to get a date, you're selling. You're trying to get a later curfew as a kid, you're selling, right? So we're all selling. We don't realize we're doing it, but we are. I think when I got into selling, it was just like a very natural thing for me. And I really, like I said, it's funny, when I was in corporate, I loved people who came out of hospitality, because if they came out of restaurants or bars or things like that, they were very natural to talk to people. And that was one of the key things. Like, I was very comfortable walking into strangers back then, before the technology boom. The owners were in the businesses. You just walked in and the owner was standing there behind the counter, like in the dry cleaner or the pizza guy or whatever. And it'd say, "Hey, is the owner here?" He said, "Yeah, I'm the owner." I'd say, "Oh, listen, I'm working with this paper." And this was, so it was just I found it very easy. Yeah. I didn't struggle to do that. So that was kind of how I got started in sales, and, got some training and just went out and started doing it. But I didn't have the obstacle like I saw a lot of other people who struggled just to go, "Oh, how am I going to walk in there? How can I talk to this person?" I was over all that early on.
You're a natural icebreaker. Yeah, and I think that is one of the biggest issues for people in sales. And I think what helped me, even though I could talk to strangers all day. That's what I do.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know that.
But I used to be afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
And never wanted to do cold calling or anything like that. But that is definitely something I think most of the listeners here are going to want to get some tips on. How do we deal with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, rejection is, if you're going to go into anything, I don't care what it is, like you do books like I do, or you're trying to do movies or whatever it is. If you're going to do anything, I don't care. It doesn't have to be sales. Right. You're going to face rejection. And if you don't understand that going in, you're going to be in trouble, because right. It's like you said, "Oh, I got this script. Let me walk in here," and everyone's going to say, "Yeah, let's we're giving you a $50 million budget." It's not happening. So you have to be able. It's almost. I always say to people, don't go in there. You got to go in there and know that this is what it is. If you want a safe job, become a mailman, and I have nothing against mailman, but being a male person, I should say, at this point in life. But that's a different kind of thing. There's no, you do your job, you go home, you get your paycheck. If you're going to go out into the arena, as we say, you better get your shield, get your sword, and be ready to go.
Right. Well, the thing I think that helped me too was, instead of calling it sales, you're just sharing. You're sharing information. Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, I like that concept better." So let's talk about your philosophy with your book. I have the first one. I have to get point 2. I have the what year did this come out?
2007.
2007. Oh my goodness.
Long time ago.
So tell us a little about your actual philosophy on spiritual selling, since it's a little different. How did it work for you, first of all, and then what are some examples that you can share?
Yeah. So first, when I got into sales, it was very, especially in New York, as you know, it was very Shark Tank. Talk about Shark Tank. That was Shark Tank. It was kill or be killed. It was a zero-sum game, meaning, sell or you don't, win or lose. It was a harsh environment. I never really liked that because I was always, even back then, I always went in there trying to help the client. That was always my thought.
Right.
And early on, I ran into trouble because I would downsell them. And meaning I was selling advertising. So I would walk into a place. If it was a new place or whatever, I would say, the guy would say, oh, maybe I should do a full page, or maybe I should do this or that. And I said, you know what? You're just starting out. I would start with the smaller one. Then we could bring you up to it. And I would go back to the office and get in trouble.
Right.
Because my manager would say, how come you didn't sell that guy? He's a new guy. He would have bought a full page yet. I said, well, I didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. But it was like, he didn't care. He said, well, you're not getting now. He didn't get his commission, or he thought I didn't get my commission, the bigger commission.
Right.
And so I immediately kind of early on had a conflict with the corporate whole structure. But it didn't, but it was like, I can't do that. I said, I'm going to just do what I do. So as I evolved with it, I realized what you said earlier is what it's about. It's about helping people. It's about sharing with people. It's about exchanging energy. People don't understand that's really what you're doing in any situation. And walking away where both people feel like, it was a positive experience. It wasn't just about, I'm trying to sell you something so I can make money, which is what most salespeople are doing. It's just like, I'm just trying to sell you something. I don't care if it works. I don't care if it doesn't work. I don't care if you need it. I don't care if you don't need it. It's all about making the sale. And it really should be about, how am I helping somebody? Right. I think that's probably the biggest difference that I saw in my philosophy versus what I saw in the corporate side.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like you have a lot more integrity than most salespeople do.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just think it was kind of like that was the game. It was one of those things where it's go out, sell, make money, and that's what it was all about. And whoever bought a nicer car or did it, that was the whole. It was so egoic and it was so materialistic. That was really what the whole thing was about. And most people are like that. So that's how they look. They're looking at keeping score and winning. That's how they think they're winning. And it is what it is. But that is the way the world works to a large degree. And like I said, like as you get into this other work, you start to see different things. But I think even myself, I was guilty of that early on. I think that's what I went in and said, yeah, I want to make money and make sales and get a nice car. I mean, that's what we wanted to do. So yeah. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was saying, but it wasn't fulfilling.
Yeah. So tell me, what do you, obviously this book, you were inspired to write this book for a reason, because there is a need for it. A lot of people need some strategies around sales. So what are some of the main struggles you've seen in your career as a coach and as a consultant, business consultant, with people having, what are the main issues that they've been having with sales?
Well, I think there's two different issues. And again, there's something in the new book I call E squared in this updated version of this book. And E squared stands for energy and expertise. So it's like you want to have the right energy and you need expertise because you still have to know what you're doing, right? You still have to be able to answer questions and be professional and so forth. So from the energy side, people lack confidence and people fear asking for their money. This is a very big thing. And so I would see somebody and they would do a presentation, they would do a good job communicating their information. And then they got to the part where they had to say, okay, this is what it costs. And you could actually physically see their whole energy change. And it was almost like they lost it. They were excited and they talked about, this is what I do. And then they got to the part where they had to ask for the money and so you have to feel confident in that at that point and not be afraid and also be able to receive. See, this is another big deal. I went through 2 bankruptcies early and you go through bankruptcies because you can't receive. That's what it was about. It didn't mean I wasn't working hard. It doesn't mean I wasn't smart. It didn't mean I didn't have determination. I just didn't have that feeling of I deserve this, I deserve it. Right. And I think that's a big thing for people to work on as far as saying, do you, and everybody, of course, as you know, Simone, they'll say, yeah, no, I deserve it, but they don't feel it. Right. They don't feel like they deserve, they could say it, but do they feel it? So it's really understanding how you feel about what you're doing. And are you confident? And do you also feel like you can receive for what you do and not feel guilty or not feel shame or not feel any of those negative energies that would come up. And then from the expertise side, probably the biggest problem I see, and I see this, I also work with a lot of companies, is they really have a poor process and they don't have a good sales process in place. And they don't know how to bring the person in and then move that person forward. And it becomes like a random, it should be a process that you follow as opposed to it's a random activity. I hope I get the deal. So these are two things. So those are probably the two areas that I spend the most time on with people, which is building a process that works. And then on the other side, building the confidence that you need to be successful in anything that you're doing.
Okay. So in this book, do you share some of those tips on how to build your system, or that's more of a...
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole I have a few chapters on the sales process, which is how to actually build it step by step. I have a whole section on how to how to create more interest in what you're doing. And of course, I have many sections on your chakra system, your energy field, how to clear the negative energy, kind of like the meditation we did back in Florida those days. So I go through the steps of, you have to be working on your energy because your energy field is everything. And everything with law of attraction and everything in life is about vibration. So I'm vibrating energy and I'm bringing energy in, or I'm keeping things out. Basically, those are the two things that you're doing all day. So if something's not working, the first place you have to look, what we do as humans is we will go into our head and say, oh, I have to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And it doesn't mean you can't tweak something, but what you really should look at first is my energy in alignment with what I'm doing? How do I feel? What am I carrying emotionally that is not letting me go forward, or that's stopping me from moving in the direction that I want to go in? That is the first. It's almost like you're looking in the wrong place. And that to me is the problem, because I think a lot of us, I know I grew up like this. We always feel like we're doing something wrong. And I hear that all day long from people. I think we all do, because it's like, oh, I did something wrong. Or I feel like, and we've kind of been conditioned that way through society and religion and school and everything. So the thing is, oh, it didn't work, I did something wrong, when that's may not be the case. It may be you just energetically are not in alignment with what it is that you're trying to create. And that's where the problem lies.
Right. And I think not only that, I think a lot of people like it's like they don't have enough self-worth, but they don't do things consistently. They might do it for like a week and then they fall back off. Even with meditation, like I tell clients all the time, did you meditate? Did you journal? Did you get the book I told you again? Oh yeah, I did it for 2 days. I'm like, well, that's why we're back to square one.
That's not gonna work. It's kind of like the gym. You go to the gym.
It's not gonna work if you don't keep doing it, right?
You can't go once and say, I went for a week. So, and I think you hit on the word that I love, which is consistency, because really your life reflects what you do consistently. Yes. If you see somebody walking down the block in good shape, that person is doing something on a regular basis to be in good shape. That didn't just happen. Right. And as I'm getting older, and thank God I've maintained pretty decent physical condition, and I'm in the gym 4 or 5 times a week now. Good. So I'm saying, I'm seeing older. There was a guy there the other day, and the guy's in his 80s, and I walked up to him, and I don't know how old he was, but he just was on the machine near me, and we were talking for a minute. And I said, do you mind if guy was like ripped, and I'm just like, how old are you? I said, do you mind if I ask you just like how old you are? And he said, yeah, I'm 81. I'm like, wow. Oh, and the first thing he said, I never stopped working out. That was the first thing he said. He said, I've been working out since I'm a kid. He said, I played sports. He said, I never stopped. He said, I didn't, I didn't gain weight. He said, I never stopped. And it was a perfect example of, keeping yourself. I see friends now, or even people who are younger than me, who are wrecked. And they're right. They're 50 and 60 or whatever ages, and they're just trying to say, oh, I have to do something. My blood pressure's high, my cholesterol's high. Right. I said, just try to start now, at that age is not easy. Right. And, even myself, I feel it, and I've been doing this my whole life. And you come out of the gym, I'm like, wow,
Right. Yeah.
It still hurts.
People start exercising once they get, a note from the doctor about something. Yeah. That's how people don't wait till you want to have prevention versus, waiting until something's happening when you're close to your deathbed, right? That's not fun. So can you share, I know we're all going to buy the book, but can you share like one process or two processes that are in the books to help remove negative blocks? Is there anything that we can do?
Yeah, so I'll give you something you could do immediately, because I like to, me, I work fast, so I want to give you something. So the first thing you want to do is, on a regular basis, you want to tap what the first step for anybody is, you need to understand what you're feeling. And I think nobody does, and we are mostly reactionary. So what you want to do is be aware, let's say something happens to you today, something happened to you, could be anything. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be somebody said something to you in a meeting, or the way somebody spoke to you, or you had an issue with your parents, whatever. If it got you upset, if it bothered you, that means that there's energy within you that is not clear. Mm-hmm. And what most people do where they go wrong is, what I always say is, they go into their routine. So what I mean by that is, they will do whatever they do to relieve that stress. It could be drinking, it could be eating, it could be even exercising, it could be drugs, it could be yelling at people, it could be a number of different things. So when you or it could be also, one of the big ones that people do very often is, they'll call someone to validate the fact that they're right.
Right.
So that's another,
and dump all that stuff on that person.
Yeah. Oh, let me tell you what a jerk my boss is, and he said this, and they'll say, oh, he's an a-hole. So what you're doing is, by doing that, you're never dealing with the issue that created that in the first place, which, by the way, you created it. But that's a whole long call for us. But the bottom line is, it's a very long conversation.
Another show.
The bottom line is, right, that's a real chakra job. So the bottom line is, I felt someone got me upset. Instead of me going into my routine or projecting it onto them, which a lot of people do too, like saying they're a jerk or whatever, what you want to do is, later, when you get home, you want to sit quietly. And again, we don't get quiet enough. That's a big problem, especially now with the phones and everything. It was bad enough, years ago when we started, but now, forget it. Now it's really bad. And it was bad then. Now it's horrible. But you need to kind of say, I'll give you an example. So I had a woman I was working with, and she had a boss that was abusive to her. And, I said to her, it was a while back, I was coaching her. And I said, well, how do you feel? And I said, how do you feel when he speaks to you like that? And what she did, the first thing she did, which is also common, she defended him. Oh, well, he has a lot of stress. Oh, well, he's this. Oh, well, he's not really a bad guy. So, I said, okay, that's all BS. Let's go past that. I said, how does it make you feel? And she said, it makes me feel like I am so incompetent, like that I'm so worthless. So I said to her, who made you feel like that when you were a kid? And she said, she was crying already at this point. And she said, because she never got there, you know what I mean, to that feeling.
Yeah, to think it out, think it through.
Yeah, she finally got there. And she said, you know what? That's the way my father spoke to me. And it was almost like everything clicked. She was like, oh, geez. And then she said, these are the kind of guys I date. These are the kind of situations that bing, bing, bing. It was like the dominoes just fell. But, she was so busy. But what she did was, she said to me later, as we progressed, it didn't all happen in one time, but she said, I realized I did the same thing with my father. Like, people would talk about him because he wasn't a nice person. She said, and I would defend him to everybody. So it's like, that is a key thing that people don't do. They just go about their business. They'll go into their thing. Like I said, go have a drink or go eat something or go complain with their friends. They never break the cycle. So the first step in anything, we have a karmic cycle that we work on. And I wrote a book about karma called Karma Buster. And it's about breaking the cycle. It's about, breaking the cycle of energy, or what they call in, Eastern philosophy, they call it the karmic wheel. So it is, so that's the same. So the karmic wheel is emotion that is trapped in your body and in your energy field that is not clear. And that is one of the things that's more important than anything else, because if you hold that energy, I don't care how hard you work, I don't care how many books you read, I don't care what you do, you are going to keep recreating that event with different people. And it doesn't matter. You'll say, people say, oh, you know what? I just have a bad relationship. I'll meet somebody else. I said, you're going to meet the worst version,
different name,
the worst version of that person. Is what you're going to meet, because that's what you're doing now, or the worst boss, or the worst situation. So that to me is the first thing. If you could just get quiet at the end of the day, with coaching clients, I always encourage them to keep what I call an emotional journal. Where they'll sit down and just say, what were you feeling today? How'd you feel? How'd you feel when this happened? Good or bad? Oh, I felt great. It's funny. I'll make a joke that you will appreciate, because people would say to me, how do you know when you're in good energy? When I was in New York, and I'd say, I got a parking spot.
Yeah. Yes, the parking gods have helped us today. Yeah, trust me.
I will tell you, when I'm speaking in Minnesota, they don't get it. But when in New York, anybody who's from New York says, "Oh yeah, you got a parking spot." So it's like it may sound stupid, but these are the kind of things that how are people treating you? Is somebody opening the door for you? Did somebody let you go ahead of them on the grocery store line? These are little things that are indicators that are telling you how your energy is. If everything is struggling, if everything is difficult, if people are not responding well to you, then I'm not in a good vibe. My vibration is not good. And the good news is you could tweak that vibration right then on the spot. You don't have to wait. You can just say, whoa, let me take a minute here. Let me take a beat. I feel off. Let me kind of realign myself and realize that I want to start putting some more positive energy out there. So that would be the first thing. That would be probably the best lesson that if anybody watching this or listening would use. If they did that every day, their life would change in an unbelievable way.
I tell people all the time, like, just give yourself a challenge. Like, try 7 days straight of just meditating 5 minutes a day in the morning, and maybe when you come home to get everybody off you. A lot of people can't meditate, so I usually send them like guided meditations on YouTube to help them. So some people can't even get quiet, so it's kind of difficult.
I find what I do with people is the simplest way for me to get people started is I said, don't even meditate, just sit quietly and count your breath.
There you go.
Just count your breath. Just inhale and say 1, 2, 3, and exhale and say 1, 2. That's the best way to start, because what it does is it takes you out of your head because you're focusing on the breath, and that's a good way to at least start without driving yourself crazy.
Right, because people say, I'm thinking about groceries. I'm thinking about what I got to clean. Yeah, right. It's like, don't worry, relax. So, Joe, this has been an amazing reunion. I'm so happy to see your face.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So tell us, what's next for Joe? What are you working on? What do you have aside from the book? Obviously, the book it just came out, right? When did it come out?
Just came out a couple of days ago.
Oh wow, a couple of days ago. Okay, so tell us. Show us the book. Yeah.
Spiritual Selling 2.0. It's on Amazon, Kindle, and it's a special launch price, so it's cheap. So you can go out there and get it. I have a couple of YouTube channels. I have a couple of YouTube channels that I also post information all the time. And I tell you, I got to a point now, I should probably I'm at retirement age, but I'm not that type. So I just
you're gonna be doing this till you're 90.
Yeah, you are correct, because I can't stop. But and I do webinars. I have a monthly spiritual membership program as well. That's inexpensive. That I send out a weekly audio, and I do a monthly live webinar. And I also have a ton of content in there for people who. I wanted to create something for people who maybe said, maybe I don't have the money for coaching, or I can't do that, but I'd love to get some kind of support. So I have a monthly membership program as well. So I try to do as many things as I can, and then I still do consulting and one-on-one coaching and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, after COVID, the speaking world changed a lot. And I think what happened, for myself and for many of us who have been doing this a long time, it was almost like, okay, I'm tired of airports and planes and running around. So it's like, I'll travel a little bit, but I'm not looking to do that like I did, 20 years ago. Right. So I think it's more cherry picking those things. And now the technology allows us to reach people this way. But I will still say, and, going back, and you and I did a lot of these things, there's nothing like the live event.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing like it.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing. But I don't like big crowds like I used to anymore.
Yeah, no.
Those days are over. Yes. All my friends going to Beyonce. I'm like, that's okay, have fun.
Yeah, too much. They had a thing over here. I was like, I said to my wife, no. Yeah, I'm just, I like to go get out, but I don't like those big crowds. I don't like those big, so if it's an event that I'm doing an event, it's different because I'm kind of like not in the crowd, but I'm just in front of them. That's okay.
Right, right. All right. So how can people reach you, Joe? What's the website and everything?
Best bet, my main site is Joe Nunz, JoeNunz.com. So it's joenunz.com. So I have my channels, all that info is there, my books, all my products. Also, some free meditations are on that page. You can just go to right away. You'll see my YouTube channels on there as well. And, all that info is there for people to check out, see what they like. And there's a lot of free material as well. So they can kind of dip their foot in and see what's going on.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm gonna have to be sharing some more stuff. We have your profile going up as a power player on our blog soon. So I'll be sharing that as well.
I'm excited.
So it's so good to see you. So good to have you back. Well, you never left, but good to have you on the show because you were on my show when I had an AM radio. Remember? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember. Yes,
1080 AM.
Radio. I remember. Listen, it's doing this so long now. I mean, I'm doing it over 30 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like you meet so many people, and obviously we've all kind of gone in our directions. But the great thing is, like now, like you and I, like somebody reaches out to me, you reach out to me, we go right, we pick right up.
It's like no time has passed.
No, it's the same thing. So, and we're luckily like with Facebook and social media, LinkedIn, I'm keeping an eye on people, and I'll even we'll message each other or like each other's stuff, and we know what we're doing. So it's a great way to keep tabs. But it's when you have this long period of time, obviously we've all gone down our crooked roads, as we like to say.
Yes, we've done a lot, but yeah, we're actually I think on the right path.
Yes, always. They're always on the right path.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again for being a part of the On Your Power family and being on the On Your Power radio show and On Your Power.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Simone.
If anybody else that's interested in learning more about Joe, again, go to JoeNunziata.com.
Joe Nunz, JoeNunz.com. Joe Nunz. I shortened my name because nobody spells it right.
They never spell it right. I know.
Right, so I did Joe. It's JoeNunz.com.
Perfect. And I'll put the link in the show notes as well for anybody listening on if driving or whatever. Remember, if you are interested in learning more about On Your Power services, coaching services, I do intuitive life coaching, I do business coaching, and Reiki. And I'll be doing a few events in New York and in South Florida coming up this fall. So make sure you sign up for my mailing list so you can get invited to them. And remember, own your power.